Okay, I was born in Bulgaria, in the capital city of Sofia, in 1929, the year when the Great Depression started in this country. I'm now 93-year-old, and I remember everything from Bulgaria. Uh, I have to say that in my experience in my life, when I was born in Bulgaria, it was constitutional monarchy. And during the Second World War, Bulgaria joined the Nazi Germany in the war against the Allies. Mm-hmm. Bulgaria was bombed, Sofia was bombed by American airplanes. I was in Sofia during the first bombardment. It was from the British who came from the island of one island in the Mediterranean, Malta, country in the Mediterranean, the Yellow Star, and we were subject to many restrictions. We become second-class citizens, and finally we were in ghettos in different towns, spread over the country in smaller towns. I heard from people telling me that they're up to here of hearing about the Holocaust. They heard it once, twice, that it is, they're pushing it in my throat, saying that like they don't like to hear it anymore. And I told them that to such people that the real reason for the repetition is not for them. It is for the young generation that they did not know, did not hear it yet. They're maybe teenagers or more adults, but still they did not know what really happened. Or they heard Holocaust, yes, but what is the Holocaust they do not know. And the best way to know is from people who survived, from the real. To read it in the books is one thing, but to hear it from a person who lived it and survived is it is more effective. So this is what I think that the Holocaust supposed to be memorialized every year, and people have to be reminded about it, since it is not a trivial thing, but very serious people organized annihilation of a nation by a government, cultural government of cultural country like Germany, to do such atrocity, barbarian atrocity. I live it, like I said, I live to the monarchy, constitutional monarchy in Bulgaria, then become fascist government with a constitutional monarchy, then become socialist country, and then I immigrated to Israel, when for the first time I saw real democracy, where the people can argue with the policeman. In Bulgaria you cannot do this with the militia. They call it militia, not police but militian. And then I came to this country, which is the real democracy. And so I can compare better because of my experience with different governments, different situations. I can compare, and it make me more savvy of politics and to know how people can be indoctrinated. Uh, I had friends who was from Nazi family came, but she was only 7 years old, and she was telling me things what her parents sometimes said that Hitler is a pig, and she heard it and she started yelling, Hitler is a pig, and they told her to shut up. And so people are the same every place, and I believe that anybody can be susceptible to indoctrination, especially when they put it in patriotism, in the form of patriotism, ethnicity. It is like the tribal instinct of the long time ago, thousands of years ago, that everybody goes for himself, the others are the culprits for things. And I still experience the same thing, even in my work here in Pittsburgh. I was subjected to such experience, and I told to one of the only friend, one I had, and I told him, I survived the Holocaust, and this is mini Holocaust. I will survive it, and I did. It is deeply implanted for years and years that the Jews are not equal to us. Like we are better than the Jews. The Jews, even in the encyclopedia of Webster Encyclopedia, the word Jew was somebody that is cheater and money lover. I don't remember exactly the definition of Jew. So there is such thing even today, maybe in different forms, not religious form, because in this country, Jews are religious group. There, it is. I don't think this is correct. A Jew can be Christian, can be Catholic, can be. It is nationality. It is nationality. A German can be Catholic, can be Protestant, can be Jew. That I witnessed in Bulgaria when Hitler came to power. Some Jews came here, came to Sofia, and it was one person, professor from the University of Berlin in linguistic, Dr. Zeitlin, I think was his name. And he was coming to my father's office from Greece to Bulgaria and back all the time, and gave the note to the chauffeur to deliver it to my father my father was still working in his office. And so this was the early stage of the persecution. We were restricted, but still business was permitted. So it was, and he came home with this note, and I heard the discussion between my mother and my father. He wants they to come here and we to hide them. we're in the same situation, the same laws. This is when the German army occupied Saloniki and Greece, the whole. And my parents said that we will endanger ourselves by hiding people, and the neighbors will see how we can hide them. So they did not do. If we knew what will be the next steps, maybe we could do something. But at that time, it was like we were in the same situation like them and not possible. So the whole family was exterminated. They load them on the train and they die immediately. When the train arrived, they took the people. I don't know how these 3 people that I heard survived. It was unique. The train passed through Sofia, and we heard that the train with the Jewish people. So the German army took the Jewish school where I was going, middle school, kindergarten to middle school, for their sleeping quarters. So we moved to the central synagogue in Bulgaria to study there. And I remember we were collecting clothing and food when they passed with the train to give to the people on the train going to the concentration camp. I have picture the big crates where the donation of clothing and food was. All the students, we climbed over them and took picture on the yard in the synagogue, the central synagogue of Sofia. When the train arrived, it was not regular train, it was cattle train. The wagons were for animals, not for people. And the chief rabbi of Bulgaria was living 1 floor above our apartment at the time, in the center of Sofia. And he told us that he will go to greet them. They did not permit anybody. They were thirsty inside the wagons, yelling, water. And one Bulgarian nurse, she took the hose, the fire hose, and gave them. So,
can I ask, when did you come to America?
1963. 61, I'm sorry. 61, I came as a student in California. My brother was before me, he came, and we lived together. So he passed away many years ago. He died from anaphylactic shock at age 58. He was 4 years younger than me. So he was very active in unifying the different churches with the Jews, to be connected, and to help each other. I heard many times from not Jews, not Jewish people, that said, we heard it once, we heard it twice, they're forcing her in our throat to swallow this thing. We're up to here from hearing it. And I'm saying it has to be every year. This is not something trivial. It is 6 million people systematically killed by a government of modern country, with scientific people, with cultural people. This is not something on the news that can be forgotten the next day. It is serious thing, and if you heard it once and twice and three, there is new population coming after you, new generation. They don't know it, and they will not know it if it is not repeated every year for a Tsar, because the Bulgarian history was very lively history. They had many kingdoms. They had kingdoms with many different kings. But in 500 years, the line of the kings disappears. So they went in Europe to look for a king. And one German prince accepted to become king, King Ferdinand from the Coburg dynasty. And by the way, my mother sat in his lap when she was little. He visited the birthplace of my mother, the town Schumann, and the Jewish community chose my mother to recite welcome, whatever she has to say to the king, and to give him the flowers. And he took her from the horse, how you call it, no carriage, but luxury carriage. He took her in the, she was very little, and then received from the palace, thank you. So King Ferdinand had to run from Bulgaria to save his life, because the army in the First World War, was losing the war, and Bulgaria did not need the war against Serbia and Macedonia. The king took Bulgaria on the side of Germany, and Germany lost the war, as everybody knows, against the Allies. In this war, my father was commander of a machine gun unit. He was officer in the Bulgarian army. After high school, my father decided, instead of going, it was compulsory to go to the army after high school. And instead of being a regular soldier, he said, I will use the time to become officer. So he went in the academy and become reserve officer. The first war came, they drafted him as officer, and he was commander and had to, it was side by side with the Germans. And he was seeing young German boys, like soldiers, dying to cross a river. It was very fast river, the flow, and they did not know to swim, some of them, and they were dying. So he was telling us stories about the First World War. The interesting thing is, again, how the Bulgarians treat the Jews during the Holocaust. The law was that the Bulgarian male, between 20 and 40 years, have to go to join the Bulgarian engineering force with hard labor to bridges and roads in the mountains, to break stones. But the officer to make such thing who fought for Bulgaria? No. If they're a Bulgarian officer, they will wear the uniform and will be together with the Bulgarian officer supervising the workers. So my father, he was rich and he made his uniform from the same tailor that was in the King Palace, working for the King Palace. So he has the uniform and the same the same week that the German army entered in Bulgaria, my father came from his place where the Jews were working to build the road in the mountain, in the Rhodope mountain, and to buy provisions for the canteen. He was working in the canteen. He made a canteen there. He was sleeping and eating together with the Bulgarian officers. And he came home and I was walking with him on the streets, and there come a group of German soldiers, about 4 of them. Across, they saw my father, he was husky. They could not see that he was just officer, not high rank. And they start marching with and greeting him. And I told him, Papa, if they know they're saluting a Jew, this I remember. And so the Bulgarians were to such extent that a Jew officer will wear the uniform. He's still Bulgarian officer. It was, I don't know if I'm receiving a magazine, like newspaper, once a month. And I read it when I have macular degeneration now. I cannot see, I cannot read. But when I was reading about many other experiences, and in Finland, I read that the German SS was there, and one SS officer was walking with a Finland's officer, and in the conversation, he found that the officer is Jewish, and they were friends. And in the end, the officer said that now we have to keep secret. And the SS told him, you are protected with your government, you're Finland officer, but I'm in Finlandia and I'm SS officer. They will kill me, if they know that I was befriended a Jew. I'm in worse position than you. This was in the article. So I think in Finlandia also was like that. They were not laws against the Jews. In Bulgaria, there were laws, but my father received a medal at that time during the persecution of the Jews for the First World War. They sent him. So it was not real discrimination. The Ministry for the Persecution of the Jews, it was called Ministry for ministers to for defense of the nation. Ministry for defense of the nation means that from other people. We were living. Our house was between Gestapo on this side and Commissary for the Jewish Affairs, half block from us. So I was seeing sometimes the representative of Hitler crossing the boulevards with his red uniform here, very red, everything. These things were, these things were big and red. So this is how I decided that he's Beckerle. Beckerle was a representative of Germany in Bulgaria, and he was going to the ministry, to the Commissary for the Jewish Affairs. He wrote a letter to Hitler. This I know from the book of Michael Zohr. He wrote the book Beyond Hitler's Grasp, the Saving of the Bulgarian Jews. And there I read many things that I knew, and I lived through them. I knew what is happening in the parliament, what their speeches, but I did not know some of the details which become clear to me when I read the book. So in the book also read that Beckerle wrote to Hitler a letter why the Bulgarian Jews were not deported. Bulgarians are below, their mentality is below the other nations in Europe. And they do not know what we are trying to do, what good we are trying to do. So for the time being, not to make waves, we'll let it in later dates, we'll complete the extermination. There is about the Bulgarian king, King Boris. After his father fled Bulgaria, he did not want to become king. He was very intelligent, and but he didn't have choice. So he became king, and he was loved by the people. He was modest person, and he had friends, Jewish friends. The chief rabbi was invited in the palace with other clergy earlier, not during the persecution time of the Jews. And so there is people who think that the king saved the Bulgarian Jews. It is not just the king. If he did not have the support of the Bulgarian church, the Metropolitan Stefan, and the king was very close with him. This was known that he is close with the Metropolitan. And the Metropolitan was the head of the church. One thing I remember, he sent Bulgarian priests to Jewish homes and one to our homes. He came in front of the door to convert us. You know, maybe this will help, but it will not help, because Hitler was looking beyond. Even if you're Christian, you still have the Jewish blood. So my mother did not accept to be converted, and anyhow it was. But the act that trying to save, and I remember the priest was with the black, Greek Orthodox. He would stay on the steps, on the handrail like that, waiting if we would like to. For some time he was there. Jewish is like secondary. First was German and then secondary. But Hitler reminded to this kind of Jews that they're Jews, to feel more Jews, and even he went generation back to look for Jewish blood. So it is not only a religion, it is xenophobia. I think xenophobia is the reason, and hate. Xenophobia is hate of a stranger.